Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we have Jake Schott. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sure you'll correct me in a minute if I didn't. But in a past life, Jake cut his teeth. He was a finance guy. Um, he earned a master's degree in industrial design. His design experience spans a wide range, from design research and interviewing to physical product development and the medical device space. Should be fun. But before we get to Jake, folks, we got to bring you back to the easy folks. That's right. Greg, you got to go to KEYSTONETECH.com, Greg Ehrich. Come on, man.
I do. Oftentimes a retrofit makes more sense when upgrading fluorescent fixtures to LED. But you know where I find that it makes more sense to go new fixtures more often than not? Stairwells. If you have a broken lens, a lot of times they're on 24/7. You can save additional energy by sensoring them. A new fixture often makes sense in stairwells, and Keystone has it now. They didn't have one. They came out with a new stairwell fixture. It has a unique design that no one else has that I've seen, that is meant specifically for mounting on the wall, shooting the light down to the stairs where you need to see so you can walk safely, securely, and get everything done. So check out their
And
new stairwell fixture.
the easy folks at KEYSTONETECH.com. That's KeystoneTech.com. And of course, if you're a Nailed member, you can log into LS Evolve and there's a whole training section on stairwells. That's right. How to measure light in stairwells, how to audit stairwells. That's right, folks. So if you're a lighting distributor, why not join Nailed? If you're an electrical distributor that's heavy in lighting, why not join Nailed? Go to NILD.org. That's right. What's happening, Jake?
Not much. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
So, Jake, I oftentimes look at websites before. Mike usually doesn't, but your mission is something that might resonate with them. You want to end sterile, soul-crushing light. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, I'm here in the Midwest, and I'm not sure where you guys are located, but we're kind of in the thick of it right now, especially you get in those February months. And back, when I used to work in finance, I used to start pretty early. It was pretty common for me to be in the office by 4 a.m. and I'd often not leave until after 5. And so you go pretty long stretches without ever being outside and seeing natural sunlight. And we had a nice office, but it was just the pretty standard, fluorescent tubes. And there's just something about that just really kind of it's soul crushing. It's there's just no life to it, and that was something that always kind of stuck with me.
Sounds like you're listening to too much Eminem, bud. I don't know if soul crushing is the right description.
Well,
I mean, I don't know if we can blame it all on the lights, eh? Maybe that's a rap song. Blame it on the juice,
Yep.
whatever. But I mean, I don't know if soul crushing is the right description. But yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of marketing in there, I suppose. But no, I mean, it really does make a big difference in your, your demeanor, your attitude, and everyone else's too. If you're in a room that just has poor lighting, or like the analogy that my partner and I talk about when we were kind of developing this was like sometimes you'll be in a dark room, and you're just you're working, you're talking, you're doing whatever, and then someone comes in and flips on the light, and it's like just completely changes the attitude of the room. And that's kind of that effect is what we're shooting for with this product.
So you had a finance background and now you're in industrial design. How come lighting? What got you involved in this field?
So really the Solar Echo was kind of born when I was in school, and a big focus that or a big concept that I learned when I was in school was that you want to find a problem, define it really well, and then come up with a solution, as opposed to coming up with a solution, an invention, and then trying to apply it to a problem. And so I had a class where we just had like a half semester project, and they said, invent a novel light. And so, I wanted to start with something. I wanted to find a problem. I wanted to address, something other than just to make a pretty light. And so I kind of harkened back to those earlier days when, I was just in that sterile office environment and really wanted to create something um, that had a natural feel to it.
Got it. And so this is in a class that you started it? Is that what you're saying, in school?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So then,
Yeah.
so it was just, it was a half semester project. I I'd rendered it, I'd made an animation, but there's 100 other things going on, and so time ran out, and it went as far as it went, and then it was just a part of my portfolio. And then early in 2021, I met with my partner, and he was looking at my portfolio, and he was like, "Oh, I haven't seen this light before. What is this?" And we started talking about it, and he was like, "World, you need to make this. Can you make it?" Um, and so I was like, "Yeah, I think I can make it." And so it took a little bit longer to prototype it out than I initially thought, but I did make it, and now I have a couple prototypes, and one of them's been living in my kitchen for the last 4 months, and it's life changing.
There you go. Before we get into that, I'm curious about the schooling part. They asked you to make a novel light, is what you said? That was a project?
Yeah, I think it was like create a novel lighting experience,
Okay.
and
And
so and LEDs were, I mean, obviously LEDs have been around, and this is kind of around the time when smart lights were becoming more affordable, right? I think I spent like $60 on a smart bulb,
mhm.
um, and it didn't even have like a ton of functionality. I think it went from like cool to slightly warm. Um, but I knew that LED technology could, you could change the intensity, you could change the color, um, but it didn't seem like that was packaged in a way that was being used well, or that was intuitive or just easy for people. And then I wanted to add an extra element to it, to make it more natural, as opposed to just this glass and steel thing. And that's kind of where the pedals came from, and so that gives you that extra dimension as well, because yes, you can change the intensity and the color from of any smart bulb from an app. This actually lets you change the shape of the light itself, and the way that the light's cast.
So
That's
I
super
noticed it.
interesting, actually. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's something different.
Yeah, it's
I
kind
don't
of,
know if you've
like
seen a
a
picture of it. Like,
Yeah.
so go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's just like a kind of like a lampshade that is alive, right? The shade part of it moves. So that extra dimension has been it's been a lot of fun to have in the house, and to actually kind of live with and see it for
So you haven't
in
sold
real
any of
life.
these yet.
Uh, yeah, well, I'm not sure of the technical term. We did do a crowdfund campaign, and
Mm.
so I guess those are technically donations with perks. So yeah, so we have orders for about 20, um,
Hmm.
but it's still, those are, I would consider those pre-orders, or still kind of in early days as far as finding manufacturing. We've been talking with a couple of potential partners on on, on actually creating this at a larger scale.
That's a really unique idea, actually, Greg.
It is
The
something
only
you don't
time
see.
I've seen adjustable lenses was when arenas would use them to change the light level during a hockey game or a basketball game, right? So the
Mhm.
person would control, they wouldn't turn the light off, they would just shield it or put a color lens in front of it or something like that. But you're actually talking about, rather than using lighting controls just to change the color or to dim the light, you're talking about actually adjusting the fixed reflector in the light. or the reflectors in the light. I haven't seen that before, Greg. Have you?
No, and especially this. I don't know if you have actually seen it, Mike, but you should check out the website. It's kind of so it's like a pendant fixture with a globe, and then
Hmm.
so I want to know exactly what. And then what are these petals made out of? They're like wood, or what is it exactly?
Yep, it's bent wood with cork overlaid. Um,
Okay.
so, and that's that was kind of what we started with. That was the original idea, but we're we're playing around with potentially other materials, um, and trying to think of new ways, um, to kind of expand on that. Potentially to, like, right now, all of the pedals open and close simultaneously, but we're kind of thinking through different ways where you could open just half of it, or like
Hmm.
a part of it, to really direct that light.
Hmm.
And then in a case like that, it might make sense to make the inside of the shades a more reflective material. Um, so we'd have to kind of test that out to see if that's maybe too intense, or if that's kind of achieving what we'd want. But yeah,
Hmm.
there's a whole world of possibilities, as far as what we could do with those pedals.
So you said right now, because I see you have a dawn, a rise and shine, a productive, a happy hour, a wind down, and a bedtime kind of look. But right now it just opens or closes. But like for example, your wind down has a quarter of it kind of open.
Yeah,
That kind
yeah.
of thing. Okay.
So right, yeah. So I mean, that would kind of be like hopefully in the 2.0, where you can control the individual pedals, but for now it's all just one unit.
So
But yeah,
what?
that's
Yeah.
the that kind of circadian rhythm is sort of just like the kind of the generic, and so we envision it coming with a couple of preset routines, um, that you could, and then you could customize those to to fit your schedule or your needs, right? So typically we'd want this, so I had two little kids, and at dinner time, we try to start winding it down a little bit, and so that the light color shifts more to the sunset, and the intensity comes down, just to kind of you know let that melatonin start to kick in, make bedtime a little bit easier for everyone. But once they're asleep, and if I have a bunch of work to do, I might ramp it back up and go full blue sky, for half an hour to kind of give me that extra kick to get some more work done.
There's a
What
name
is
for
he?
that. You know that? Sorry, Greg. There's a name for
Yeah,
that.
go for
That's called cueing.
Queuing?
Cueing. Yeah, using light to
Okay.
make humans do things is called cueing.
Mm.
Right? So if
Yep.
there's lots of examples of cueing, when it's time to be quiet in a theater, the lights go down. So people start to whisper. They just know to do that, right? So that type of use of lighting to make humans behave or act a certain way is called cueing. And so you're experimenting with that in your prototypes. I
Mm.
like the idea of the circadian combined with some sort of shielding or reflective capabilities, because you're talking about um, circadian, and the evidence is not fully in that we can actually do that with electric light or artificial light, whatever you want to call it. But certainly the sun definitely changes the direction of the light at certain times. So when it's high noon sky, the lights, your eyebrows are, shielding the light from the brighter sun. But then as it sets, it's coming at you from a different angle. I think that's very, very interesting that you're using this. I've never, I've been doing this show for 5 years, and it's the first time we've heard it, Greg, and it comes from someone that's not really even in the lighting industry.
thinking outside the box a little.
Yeah.
The light source itself, I assume, is LED.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And is it
Yeah.
color tuning?
Yes. Yes. So the with the prototype, we've just been using an off the shelf, smart bulb, but with one of the potential partners we're talking with about manufacturing, then we'd have our own custom bulb to put in there. But yeah, it would be an LED technology, and it would be we'd have to think through whether or not we want to have like a full color spectrum or not. Like right now in the prototype we do, or it lets you go from like purple to blue and yellow. But I don't really use that much. It's more kind of in the natural range.
Nobody uses
So
those colors that much. Like it's not nice
yeah,
to be under a purple light. It's not enjoyable.
it's more like it's a party trick.
Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
trick that you want to turn off as soon as possible. What I would do, if I may make a suggestion, okay, on
Sure.
what you're working on here. So what I've come across in this journey as a podcaster, sell light bulbs every day, and then I record podcasts about lighting, is that the play between horizontal and vertical light is really the key to circadian stimulus, along with color temperature and lux level. So it's not just about lux level or color temperature, it's also about where the light is coming at you from. And if you were to say this would be very effective, and I think it would probably work to do the idea of getting kids to go to bed or whatever, Greg, if they were to shield the bottom of the fixture somehow, so you eliminate the actual the horizontal lux, so the light that you would measure sort of on the horizontal plane, and create
Mm-hmm.
all vertical light in a very low Kelvin temperature, you would be mimicking a sunset. And
Okay. Yeah.
that would be a very powerful, and just in my gut instinct, I'm not saying that I know this to be true from any researchers, but I'm putting together different things that people have told us over the years, and particularly on the conversation series with Henrik Clausen and Deborah Burnett, Greg, where they were talking about the importance of vertical light. So light that you would measure, if this were a light meter, you would measure vertically. And so if you were to shield
Yep.
that and lower the color temperature down, I'm not talking about 3000 Kelvin, I'm talking about 1800 Kelvin. That would definitely, in my opinion, in my gut instinct from all the scientists I've interviewed, trigger a circadian response to go to bed.
Yep. Yeah. I'm familiar with that. Trying to get outside and actually get some light into your eyes early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
When as close to sunrise as possible, and then during sunset as well. To um, your term cueing makes sense. I'm not sure I've heard that exactly before, but it
It's
is.
not mine, it's Andrea
It,
Wilkerson's from Pacific
okay.
Northwest National
Yeah.
Laboratory, but yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm familiar with that. Back when I started this project in school, when I had kind of the luxury of more time uh, to just like read articles, and I really dug into some of the science behind light. And there was this kind of the beginning of this like blocking blue light craze. And so it's been a couple of years, so I honestly haven't gone back to double check, but when I did, I found a few articles on PubMed, and it was interesting that uh, they were measuring melatonin response. And what they found was that blue light did, or like that more high energy white blue light had a stimulative effect, or actually it had a melatonin reducing effect, but it wasn't as important as lux, right? So even if you had a really um, low Kelvin temperature light, but if it was intense enough, it had more of a melatonin reducing effect than a small amount of blue light. And I think that gets missed a lot um, when people are trying to like shield themselves from blue light, or completely avoid blue light during the day. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But it was just, I think that fits in with what you're saying, but from a different angle, right? Where there's definitely it's interesting. I haven't thought about
The
the
problem
vertical
is
versus
that
the
human
horizontal.
preferences don't make any sense. That's the problem with all of this stuff. Like what the
Yeah.
what research tells us, and then what people actually want are two different things. And so it's a difficult problem that a lot of people, very very intelligent people, are trying to solve, um, and with a lot of research dollars behind them. But I like this idea of an adjustable reflector. I can't get my head out of that. I think that's such a wonderful contribution that I have never seen before, Jake. So I want to compliment you on that innovation. I think that's a
Thanks.
really, really good innovation. Greg, do you have any more questions before I kind of change gears?
Just on that fixture itself, yeah. So right now it seems to be focused residentially. I mean, it's a pendant light that you can hang in your dining room. I see that, but have you thought about going commercial office buildings? Because that's where this whole idea came from, right? Like you were sitting in an office
Yep.
under a fluorescent light. So how do you get that
Yep.
fixture or something like this into the marketplace commercially?
Well, so we were discussing early on, like where this thing lives. And initially, uh, we were kind of thinking the home, but then we were thinking the office too. And, obviously, with the last couple of years, that tends to be the same place for a lot of people.
Yep.
So you are kind of, you know, you're hitting both bases by having the residential, but yeah, certainly think that this could be great in an office situation, or commercial, or even we're discussing like in a restaurant, um, and along with queuing, but not the same type of queuing, but you could imagine it being in a sports bar and having a branded football team on the pedal, and touchdown is scored and it opens up, or it responds to its environment in a way that that projects that natural, that it's alive, that it's not just this tool, but it's actually kind of a house plant in a way, right? It's a part of nature.
It's awesome. Like a living light fixture. I love it.
The just to comment on what you just said there, and it just occurred to me, and queuing, the idea of queuing is simply the application of subtle theatrical techniques into general lighting systems. Like you're not going to have a spotlight on somebody, the bartender, whatever, in a bar, like a theatrical lighting, but it's taking those concepts of adjusting light levels, colors, intensities, focuses, contrasts to affect people in some manner which is beneficial to them or to the space. And I think just the idea that you've contributed to the industry, which is adjustable reflectors or adjustable shields in general lighting, Greg, this is the like honestly, I mean that actual contribution, just the idea of that is something that I've said it again. It's actually it's what is needed, Greg.
Hmm. Bring these things to life. I like that. I like that
Yeah.
concept. You know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were going to make it through to the end with us, Jake, because um, we ask tough questions, and sometimes some ideas are people are making claims or whatever, and they're not approaching the subject with humility or um, that other people know things too that maybe they know more than you do, right? Or you know what I'm saying? And so
Sure.
um, I want to ask you some questions, Greg. Can I change gears and talk a little
Yeah.
bit about business? Because
Yep.
I think that the listeners might find it
Sure.
interesting. When you came up, and I'm gonna pick at you a little bit here, if that's okay, Jake. But we're all gonna laugh about it
Okay.
because I think you're mature enough to have your balls broken a little bit by get a grip on lighting, guys.
Sure.
Okay, so when you guys came up with this soul crushing and all this kind of stuff, right? There's like something in the United States, entrepreneurship 101, where they tell you you have to be absolutely ridiculously, um, you had to have lived in your car at some point, and then you have to like be solving some ridiculously bad problem that's so awful that you're coming in like Superman. And this is a very American thing. Like it doesn't happen everywhere. Like you'll have people tell you that, yeah, I was living in my car, and then you dig into a little bit, and then it turns out that they slept in their car one night because there was a conference in that town, and they couldn't get a hotel room. Or they turned it. It's like, how do we market this into a story? Did did you actually believe that, or is that something that you came across, like you said earlier in the show, as some way to market this to shake people up? And I'm okay with either one. It doesn't really matter because you're talking. This
Yeah,
show goes to lighting professionals, so they may actually incorporate your ideas into it. It's not. I'm not trying to insult you or anything like that. I'm just trying to say
no,
that did you intentionally over exaggerate, or did you actually feel that way, that the lights were causing you, so were actually crushing your soul?
yeah. Well, there's um, my partner's the marketing magic behind the team, um, and it's it, it's accurate to say that it started with that problem. Now, did it actually crush my soul? I mean, maybe I left the industry and started something else. So, in a way, it kind of was. But to say that office fluorescent tube lighting is sterile, I think is pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'll agree with
And
that.
you know, it's certainly not bringing out the most in people. I guess not bringing out the most in my soul, or it wasn't right.
I
Um,
think maybe the business of finance and the dog eat dog world of that profession might actually be a little more soul crushing than a 2x4 fluorescent T8 troffer, perhaps.
Combined.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
probably that's a multifactorial problem for sure, but um, yeah, but there's I do think that there's a need out there, right?
Mm,
There's a um, there's an education that like that needs to be communicated to people. Like people don't know what they're missing, right? Or you get used to the environment that you're in, right? It's like the frog that's in the pot of water that's just slowly getting hotter. They just don't. They accept it, and we do this in a number of ways every day in our own lives, where like you're in a situation and you don't even realize all the different ways that it could be improved. And lighting is just one small part of that. Um, but it's everywhere, right? Like you can't get away from lighting. You can't really do anything without some amount of
it's
light.
pervasive, that's for sure.
So, yeah.
You know where that's most obvious? This is going to be weird, but you ready for this? Where people become accustomed to their environments is most obvious with smell. You know, you
Mm,
can't smell your own house, but you can go into someone else's house and immediately be like, "This guy's house smells weird," right? But people become accustomed. Like the nose is is one of the things where that boiled frog you talked about. When you live in that stinky environment, you become accustomed to it. When you walk into that office building every day and the flicker is bothering you or whatever it is, you just you don't think you can do anything about it, so you become accustomed to it. I like your idea of like encouraging people to ask for more from lighting. And I think that that's an interesting, like you've come at things like you're interesting. You've come at things from, your belief is that, look, can be better. And you're putting yourself out there with a fixture and, coming up with unique ideas. I think what you're doing is really good, Jake. I do.
thanks.
Any final thoughts for the people listening?
No, just check out the website. It's Solar Echo Lighting, um, and hopefully we will have a space on there for pre-orders pretty soon here once we figure out the manufacturing part of it. And yeah, just thanks for the opportunity, guys. Really appreciate it.
That's been Jake Schott. Before we let you go, though, guys, we got to take it easy. We got to keep it easy. We got to go to keystonetech.com, Greg Ehrich. That's keystonetech.com.
That's right. Get rid of those broken lens stairwell fixtures that are on full brightness when they don't need to be. People walking a stairway, they're on 24/7. They might actually use it 10 minutes a day. Sensor it, fixture it. Keystone's got it for you.
Ooh, and you know what? I don't think Jake Schott's fixtures going into any stairwells in apartment buildings. But
Not
I'll
yet.
tell you this: if you're a member of Nailed, and you can put your employees through LS Evolve, which is a fantastic training program. It's little 5-minute tidbits by experts on all sorts of different topics, and one of those topics is stairwells. And if you're not counting stairwells, you're not selling lights because there's tons of lights in stairwells, folks. That's right. And nobody ever uses those stairwells. We're talking about egress stairwells in apartment buildings, office towers, all this kind of stuff. And if you're a lighting guy, you got to count those stairwell lights, brother. You got to go up to the top floor, and then you got to get off the elevator, and then you got to walk the stairwell and count all the lights. Yeah, I've done it hundreds
Don't
of times.
don't start at the bottom. I've done it too many
No, dude, you
times.
don't start walking up unless you want to get exercise. You can do that if you're like a fitness freak and whatever. You're a carnivore meat diet, um, workout guy, and you're going to get your 1,000 calories burned. Go for it. I always take the elevator and walk down. But yes, count those stairwell lights, folks, and go if you want to join. Go to naild.org. That's nailed.org. Get educated. Get associated. Thank you for listening. Oh, thank you for listening. We love you guys. Bye for now.